Well, my bath worked out very nicely. I used 3 straws lined up in a row and inserted them into my mouth and stuck my middle finger and my thumb in each nostril and put my pointing finger either on my forehead or on my nose to close off my nose, and then I put my head down, pushed down because my legs were up out of the water, curled, bent at the knee, and with the straws pointing straight up I was able to breathe and keep my eyes open, and worked pretty good. A little leakage, I just swallowed a little bath water once in a while, and a little leakage into my nostrils, not a whole lot, so it helped clean out the esophagus and the breathing passages. You know, the bath water, the ingredients, the salt, the MSM, the silver hydroperoxide, and the silica gel. And it felt good bathing my eyes in that sterilizing, rejuvenative solution. So maybe this will not only help improve my eyesight, it'll help improve my breathing passages, my sinuses, my mouth, teeth and gums. And ultimately, the whole point of it is the foreskin, because if it reaches the kidneys, so each of the 3 things, the eyes, the kidneys, and the feet, each need something. Apparently the feet need more than just walking, they need iron. And the eyes need to be rejuvenated and regenerated, and of course the foreskin, or the head of the penis missing a foreskin, needs to be kept wet all the time with a cloth that is a 5-inch diameter cloth that is kept always moistened with good old colloidal silver that I can make in a half hour's time with my Pro 7s from silvergen.com. 2 quarts in a mere half hour. And so I put the cloth in a dish, pour a little colloidal silver, let it soak up, wring out a little of the excess, and then I take a paper form that is a little too small, and with the help of a sandwich baggie, these are the fold top set sandwich baggies, I line up the corner of the sandwich baggie with the corner of this quadrant of a circle. This is a 3-inch, I think this is 3 inches, but it's a little too, and then I cut 2 inches away from it, and some of the flap comes out, so I have to cut off the flap. So I end up with this piece that's a little larger than my form, and this creates a conic. When you open it up, it's a cone, and so that goes over the wet cloth. The cloth goes over the head of the penis, the plastic goes on top of that, and then the sheath, the penis sheath of the Picante jockstrap underwear goes over that, and I cut out the balls section because the balls kind of get in the way of, or the cloth gets in the way, because it's made for Asian genitals. It's not really made for Westerners' sized genitals. Must be all the soybeans, I don't know. Maybe it's the soybeans that shrinks down the genitals. Whatever. So that's how I deal with helping the gonads when I have to rinse this out. Let it dry. So each area of those 3, the kidneys being linked to the penis, but the kidneys are also linked to the eyes, and so between the feet, the eyes, and the kidneys. So apparently I need iron, and that might be what's holding me back from regenerating. I thought it was silica, I thought it was methylated sulfur, which are all good, but it might be iron, simply iron, that I miss. that prevents me from regenerating. And I take a lot of silver. So obviously it's not for lack of silver, and not for lack of quality of silver, being that I'm not merely taking colloidal silver into my body, I'm taking silver hydroperoxide through the skin in the form of a bath with lots of salt and MSM. So apparently it's a lack of iron, so I may have to be diligent about taking iron, every day, every other day or something, but I never take it. I never think I need to. But it's obvious to me I'm deficient in iron. And iron isn't a question of energy so much as a question of being centered. And when you're centered, you're able to get deep rest. Adequate rest. Old people have a hard time getting rest. And I have a hard time. And when you get adequate rest, then you have energy. So it's really for lack of rest that we get lacking in energy. So it's not a question of taking a stimulant like coffee or chocolate. It's a question of taking iron and getting rest. A little backwards, but it works better. It's more holistic in its view. And that might be why I'm not regenerating, despite all the efforts I've had trying to restore the foreskin, a fox foreskin, using conventional restorative tugging techniques, and in which all I did end up doing was, I did manage to get the shaft skin to grow a little, but mostly I injured the penis. I have injured tissue that swells, and more than often than not, and it looks ugly. A little side of the penis swelling up like it's got a growth. It's just extra tissue because it's damaged tissue. So I have regeneration to look forward to in that area, not just the growth of a foreskin, but it's for lack of iron. That's what's holding me back. So it's not that I should give up silver. Silver does stimulate regeneration, but we've got to be nutritionally savvy enough to understand what can hold us back. So lack of salt can hold us back, lack of methylated B vitamins, lack of methylated sulfur, lack of silica, and lack of iron, and lack of water. So I take baths every day, or I try to, and I try to make sure I drink. So to get me to drink, and since I have a hard time drinking, I bought me a blend of food acids, an acid blend. Let's see if I can zoom in on that. To put in the water, just a teeny sprinkle, just enough to add a little tartness to the water. Citric, malic, 45% each, and 5% tartaric acid. And it's from Homebrew, Ohio. That's what they're called. It's on Amazon. But that's not enough because they put too little tartaric acid. So what I do is I bought, nope, not that. Which one is it? Where is it? Oh shoot, where'd it go? Oh, there it is. So I went and bought myself potassium, tartrate, cream of tartar. And so I'm able to put the tartaric acid back into the blend, which they put so little in, but I put in potassium as well. So I get potassium, tartaric acid, malic acid, and citric acid, and then I mix it up in another container, and I just sprinkle this tiniest amount in a glass of water and stir it in, because it's a little too much tartness I'm really not too fond of. But it has the potassium there to balance out the tartness somewhat. And I make sure I have salty food in my diet, so I've got nice salty chips. I got these from the 99-cent store. These are rice with blue corn chips. And I eat a lot of sweets, too. I'm able to get away with it. So I got pure maple cream. This is cream form of sugar. And I have that with bread and nut butter. What else? Oh, yes. I make sure I eat sauerkraut. Whoops, I don't have a can to show you. Not when I eat the sugar, obviously, but when I eat a plain meal like rice and beans and veggies, then I have sauerkraut, and it really helps digestion. It's amazing stuff. Oh yes, and beeswax. I take organic beeswax. It comes 1 ounce size bars. Do not get the pound size bars. Those are atrocious. They're cheaper, but they're awful. And I melt it down with oil, an oil of my choice. and I dip dried fruit. This is date roll with coconut and a blanched almond, and I dip it in the oil beeswax mixture, and I squeeze out a capsule of sunflower lecithin. I squeeze out a couple of those into that, and a little bit of the maple cream sugar as well, because sugar doesn't mix too well, especially if it's sugar in the form of powder. But if it's in the form of cream, it mixes a little better, but it still sinks to the bottom. So I don't know what a great idea that is. I may give up the idea of trying to add sugar. But lecithin does mix. Lecithin mixes with beeswax when the beeswax is melted, and oil, vegetable oil, mixes. And I'm sure butter would as well, if you prefer to use butter. And so I make a heated up mixture in my crock pot, and I dip it individually with tongs. Where are my tongs? Tongs, where are you? I get all my appliances from the 99-cent store. Here we go. Nice mini tongs. And I took off the rubber. They had rubber tips, silicone rubber. I try to stay away from the use of silicone rubber. Anyway, it's a hot situation, so I don't want silicone rubber, in there. So I just have these nice metal tips, and I can grab hold of the dried fruit and dip it. Something else I've had a yen for. This has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, is okra. Oh my god, I love okra. It's got a tartness to it I didn't realize. Anywho, I eat a lot of bananas, and sometimes, black mission figs, and once in a while I'll take some MSM capsules, and I'll put all kinds of things in my rice. When I cook the rice, I put slippery elm, I put kelp powder, turmeric, a little bit of diatomaceous earth food grade. And this time I tried ground flaxseed. I'm going to see what that's like, cooked with the brown rice. And I eat lots of sauerkraut with the brown rice, because the rice bran has phytic acid, not as much as oats. So I have to stay away from oats and granola, because it has way too much phytic acid, PHYTIC. Phytates, they combine, they bind with calcium and make calcium non-soluble. And it gives me headaches. So I can get away with oxalic acid like beets and spinach and whatnot, but I cannot get away with phytic acid. So oats gives me headaches, and the brown rice does too, but not as bad. And so if I have sauerkraut with the brown rice, I can get away with it barely. If I do get a headache, it's pretty mild or hardly noticeable. And I regularly take potassium iodide because I need potassium, but I also need iodide. And once in a great while, I'll take calcium because I don't seem to need that much calcium. So I take coral calcium. It's no big deal. But every day, I'm due now to take my B complex. So I'll take that. And now I have to remember to take iron. So I have to remember to take iron and B complex because, I have a certain feeling, a sensation, a body sensation that tells me when I need calcium carbonate, and another sensation that tells me when I need potassium iodide. I have no sensation to tell me I need salt, so I'm just trying to get into the habit of eating salty foods. I don't need to encourage my consumption of sweets, because that's automatic. But iron and B complex and and MSM is another one I don't have a response for, so I put it in the bath to make sure I get it that way. And the salt goes in the bath for the same reason, to make sure I get salt, at least through my skin. Okay. Enough.